Carrier Strike Group 8 consists of 6 warships and a submarine. At the center of the formation is its flagship, the USS Harry S. Truman, an American Nimitz-class carrier with 49 combat aircraft on board. The Truman is escorted by 2 U.S. Navy destroyers, the Arleigh Burke and the Jason Dunham. Like bodyguards, their job is to defend the carrier against enemy attack. The USS Normandy, an American guided missile cruiser, functions as a floating missile screen and protects the group from airstrikes. The German frigate Hessen is the eyes and the ears of the strike group. It specializes in aerial reconnaissance with a radius of 250 miles. The Roald Amundsen is a frigate that is part of the Norwegian Navy. The smallest vessel in the group, its task is to combat enemy submarines and warships. The carrier is also escorted by a Los Angeles-class attack submarine. Its job is to protect the group by hunting down and destroying enemy submarines. The guided missile destroyer Arleigh Burke is something very special and has thus lent its name to an entire vessel class, which currently consists of more than 65 structurally identical destroyers. They were the first naval vessels to be built with stealth technology. Arleigh Burke-class destroyers are 509 feet long, have a width of 66 feet, and a draft of some 33 feet. This makes them extremely stable even in heavy seas. Their 99,000 horsepower engines give the destroyers a top speed of 30 knots. The Arleigh Burkes each have 300 personnel on board. Arleigh Burke destroyers are equipped with a complex electronically controlled combat system, which makes them ideal for protecting carriers like the Truman from aerial and submarine attack. Since the Second World War, more Arleigh Burke destroyers have been built for the U.S. Navy than virtually any other class of warship. Their combat systems make them extremely effective, especially in difficult defense scenarios. The Arleigh Burke is a fighting machine. It has 8 Harpoon missile systems for combating enemy warships, 6 torpedo tubes for attacking submarines, and a 127-millimeter cannon that can sink speedboats in seconds. And any attackers still managing to penetrate through to the warship can expect to be met with a heavy barrage from the Seawas phalanx. But the main weapon on board the Arleigh Burke is its guided missile system. With rockets fired from 90 launch cells, the destroyer can combat attacks from air, land, and sea. Its vertical launch system enables the destroyer to attack bunker installations as much as 600 miles away. Missiles fired by this high-tech warship can also combat supersonic fighter aircraft and near-Earth satellites with great accuracy. The Phalanx Seawas is an automatic, rapid-fire system. Firing 50 rounds a second, 6 rotating barrels literally pulverize any airborne object attacking the ship. Naval engineers are constantly working on improving the Arleigh Burke's defense systems. These include a computerized missile defense system known as RAM, short for Rolling Airframe Missile. The super airbox system launches chaff or infrared decoys to foil anti-ship missiles. The destroyer's Bushmaster M242 autocannon and its 127mm lightweight gun are used against targets close to the shore. The Arleigh-Burke's defense systems are complemented by a complex electronic tracking system. Its core element is the Aegis Combat System, a combination of radar, sonar, and sensor technology that can track and guide weapons to destroy targets in the air and at sea. A high-performance sonar system in the Arleigh-Burke's bulbous bow detects all movements underwater. It can also register objects on the surface up to 124 miles away. In order to determine the precise nature of an object, the signals from it are compared with the information stored in a huge echo data bank. The Warship also has a 360-degree radar system that can even detect objects no bigger than a golf ball 112 miles away. The two radar units at the stern transmit a signal which guides missiles fired by the ship precisely to their target. In addition, numerous antennas ensure pinpoint navigation of the vessel itself. Within the carrier group, the Arleigh-Burke is clearly designed as what is known as a multi-mission platform. In defending the Truman, it can assume several roles. This warship ensures that the jets are able to operate safely over the Atlantic. The Hessen is a Sachsen-class frigate with the German Navy. This type of warship has been designed in such a way that it can defend itself independently in a naval conflict. The Hessen is the hawk among the group's warships. Its numerous high-tech radar systems make the Hessen a specialist in air reconnaissance.
The Hessen is Germany's most powerful and most expensive weapon system. What makes it so expensive is its sensor technology, the radar systems we have on board. When we leave Wilhelmshaven, we can monitor the airspace over Frankfurt and London simultaneously. This gives us a good picture of the situation, which we can then make available to NATO, but also to the aircraft carrier.
The Smart L at the stern is a rotating radar system. It enables the Hessen to establish a giant monitoring dome over the entire carrier group. Around 1,000 targets within a radius of 249 miles can be detected and tracked simultaneously. Located in the frigate's tower is the APAR missile guidance system. Its sensor arrays can track 250 different air targets at a distance of 93 miles. At the same time, the system can transmit the coordinates directly to the weapons systems for precise targeting. Underwater detection is no problem for the Hessen either. The high-performance sensor in the bulbous bow monitors all activity in the ocean in a radius of up to 27 miles. The frigate's two helicopters extend its detection capability. Equipped with dipping sonars, they can monitor the ocean many miles beyond the Hessen's radius of activity. All data flow into the operations center, giving Commander Pfennig and his 255-person crew an up-to-the-minute and extremely precise overview of the entire situation in the air and on and below the surface.
The Hessen is a group air defense frigate specializing in anti-air warfare. The vessel's defense capabilities are multidimensional. It can combat targets in the air, on the surface, and underwater.
Located deep in the bowels of the ship is the operations center. Here, Pfennig and his team are totally self-sufficient. Decoupled, well-sprung, and protected by extremely thick armor plating, the center can even withstand the shocks from missiles hitting the ship. The operations center also has its own separate supply of power and oxygen. it would continue to function even if the Hessen were in flames.
The operations center is the ship's brain, so to speak. All data interchanged within the carrier group is gathered here. Think in terms of a high seas computer network.
The Hessen can not only see and hear extremely well, it can also hit hard. The frigate has 6 different weapon systems for defense. With a range of 5 miles, the 76mm cannon on the bow can fire 100 rounds a minute. 2 ram launchers protect the Hessen against aerial attack. 8 Harpoon missile systems can attack enemy warships, and 2 triple launchers provide torpedo defense against submarines. The 32 cells of the vertical launch system make the frigate a dangerous destroyer. The crew also have access to various firearms for close-range defense. A high-tech frigate, the Hessen is the German Navy's pride and joy. Since 2010, ships of the Sachsen class are regularly part of the fighting force around the aircraft carrier Harry S. Truman. In operation only a few miles further north is the KNM Roald Amundsen, a frigate belonging to the Royal Norwegian Navy. She's the strike group submarine hunter. The ship's networked, multifunction combat system enables it to simultaneously detect, pursue, and combat underwater attackers. 440 feet long and 56 feet wide, this sub-hunter has 2 powerful diesel engines and a gas turbine which generate 39,450 horsepower. With a 16-feet draft and a top speed of 27 knots, the Amundsen is extremely fast and maneuverable. The smallest warship in the strike group, the Amundsen is an integral part of Norway's powerful high-tech fleet. Belonging to the Fridtjof Nansen class, it specializes in hunting submarines in the fjords of the far north and in the Atlantic. Because of the Amundsen's sporty shape, the Norwegians also fondly refer to it as the yacht. During the 4-week Kamp 2X maneuver, the Roald Amundsen will protect the group's flanks. In the event of a surface attack, the ship's remote-controlled Browning machine guns are brought into action. So it has to be totally ready in an emergency. Like the crews of all the warships in the carrier strike group, during the exercise, the Norwegians practice firing projectile weapons. On board the frigate during the exercise are 120 men and women. They constitute the smallest crew within the carrier strike group. With more and more technology functioning automatically, fewer hands are needed. The advantage for the crew is less stress and more space on board. Depending on its mission, the Amundsen also has 30 members of Norway's special forces on board. The frigate's speedboats transport the troops at top speed to their operational areas on the coast. The Norwegian warship also has 2 helicopters on board. This cruiser is another member of the Harry S. Truman carrier group. The USS Normandy is a floating missile base. Its vertical launch system, VLS for short, is one of the world's fastest missile launch systems. 5 different types of missile can be fired from the Normandy. 568 feet long and almost 56 feet wide, the Normandy is a guided missile cruiser with a draft of just over 33 feet. The twin propellers are driven by a 78,906 horsepower engine that gives the warship a top speed of 30 knots. The Carrier Strike Group is now in the middle of its 4-week war maneuver. Each of the units is operating in its particular task area. The group's 7,000 sailors and air crews are waiting for their next test, which could come at any moment. In the days ahead, they will face some tough challenges. Red alert on the Atlantic. Carrier Strike Group 8, a heavily armed naval formation headed by an aircraft carrier, is out on the Atlantic to rehearse a real-case scenario. The purpose of the 4-week maneuver is to practice the tactical interplay between the warships prior to engaging in combat. 3 nations are involved.
Any mission, anytime, anywhere, we're ready to go.
The centerpiece of the group is its flagship, the carrier Harry S. Truman, a 1,093 feet long, floating small town with a military airport. With 5,600 personnel on board, the Truman can accommodate 49 jet fighters. During the exercise, its crew will handle several thousand takeoffs and landings. The physical demands are so massive that all those involved always have to push themselves to the very limit.
Being out here is definitely stressful. It's a very stress-high environment.
A further 1,400 naval personnel are serving on the group's destroyers and frigates. Over the next few weeks, they too will be engaged in the most demanding military exercises.
Warship 1, Warship 2, fight the fire!
Fire on board has to be combated swiftly and effectively. Medical teams have to ensure that those with injuries or burns receive prompt attention. And anyone going overboard into the cold waters of the Atlantic has to be rescued with all haste. Far away from the mainlands, the warships will fire thousands of rounds of ammunition and launch dozens of rockets. Attacks will be controlled tactically from the group's operation centers. Stress in a confined space in the tough daily routine of life in the Navy.
This is your commander. Warn unidentified approaching aircraft in order to indicate our capacity for action and that of the force. Over and out.
To defend peace in the world's oceans. That is the reason why 7,000 sailors, soldiers, and pilots are prepared to endure 4 weeks of torture on the high seas. 4 weeks that will see them grow together to form a powerful carrier group.